I'm going to say, hey, it's Nate.
Hey, it's Barry.
Hey, it's Brian.
And welcome to
Kirby Spectacular, the Collecti-Bros
podcast.
Yeah, which podcast, man? Yeah.
Kirby podcast.
The Collecti-Bros podcast.
Collecti-Bros
Thanks.
podcast.
Okay.
Podcast. Something a little different for you guys today. We were suggested by the community to talk about Kirby games. So we got together.
It was specifically requested Kirby, one of the Kirby games.
Well,
and then we did a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So each of us picking a Kirby game to talk about. I don't want to speak for everybody here, but I feel like none of us are like super Kirby veterans here. So it's kind of an interesting one for us to do. But we all had some in our collection, so pick the ones from our collection each to talk about today. But thank you for the suggestion. If you guys ever have more, keep them coming, because this was actually really fun for us to do.
This is going to be a short and sweet, is it worth it? 3 Kirby triple feature editions.
Christmas.
Kirby Triple Attack. Is there a Kirby Triple Attack game?
Not that I know of.
Okay, it just sounded like a Kirby title.
It's a Kirby Christmas. So we're just going to talk about the games and what order we played them in today. So we started off with my pick. It was Kirby's Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy. Had this game since I was a little kid. This is one that me and Brian grew up playing. It's one of the first games I remember actually completing and beating as a kid. I think it was honestly the first game I ever beat. So I have a lot of nostalgia attached to this one. But we'll do a very rapid fire quick notes version here. So this is developed by Hal. Hal Laboratory is pretty much based all the Kirby games that I know of. If I'm wrong, don't come after me. I know the Kirby community can get crazy. But published by Nintendo, obviously, him being a Nintendo character. The interesting note about Kirby's Dream Land 2 is that Mashiro Sakurai, this Kirby's daddy, was not involved in making this game. It's one of the few that he's not involved in. So, but this one's generally well regarded and loved by people. Keeps the quality with a new kind of direction. So yeah, really with story and Kirby, it's never really been a strong point for the series. It's just like a lot of the Kirby games. Kirby has to save the day. This one, Dark Matter has possessed King Dedede, takes the bridges to all the connecting islands of Dreamland. Kirby in this one, the difference is that he gathers up some boys with him. His hamster friend, his fish friend, and his owl friend. And he's like, I'm going to go stomp his ass. So the fundamental difference with this one is that you have animal friends. It separates it from Adventureland. Interesting enough, as far as story goes, there's 2 endings to this game. If you don't collect all of the rainbow pieces in the game, you get a quotations bad ending where you just kind of walk away in the rain after you defeat King Dedede. And it's very melancholy and
all things considered, though, it's the most tame bad ending I've ever seen for a game ever.
No one dies.
It is Kirby, man. It's supposed to be, kind of lighthearted.
Just a melancholy walk through the rain with the credits. But if you do collect all the rainbow pieces, it's an extra little boss fight where you get a sword. It's a rainbow sword. And you get to fight the Dark Matter, which has possessed King Dedede, and is the trouble behind all of this, which is actually an ongoing theme with Kirby games later. This is the first of the trilogy where you're fighting Dark Matter, so if you guys were surprised, Kirby wins. You save the day. It's pretty straightforward. It's a Kirby game, and you're not really playing it for the story here. It's all in the manual, if you're really that curious. It's one of those that's like, I'm not going to sit here and critique it too hard. It's a Kirby game. It's not what it's made for.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who goes after, Kirby lore or story. It's not really the point of these games. It's kind of fun just to pick up and play. They're not really story heavy, which is fine. Not every game needs to be.
Yeah, especially a Game Boy game. It's just
right.
2.5 hour game tops, so it's not really a necessary thing. So I'm not going to sit here and crap on it. Next topic we're going to talk about really quick is the graphics. I actually love the art style for this game. I know it's a Game Boy game, so it has fairly limited graphic power, but the art style for Kirby very much so lends itself to kind of being timeless, and with the underutilization of power in Game Boy, it really helps this one's case. We actually played this on a Retron 5, so we were able to see it with the Super Game Boy added colors. A quick fun fact about the Super Game Boy version of this game, it adds unique sound effects to the game too, using the Super Nintendo chip. So you get a little more sound, a little more color, and the end cinematic looks pretty cool, and it's like fully decked out, because there's the max amount allowed of colors used for the Super Game Boy on the Rainbow Sword. So Kirby slashes it at the end. It's like every single color the Super Game Boy can actually use.
It's pretty cool.
Pushed into the limit.
I will say the border looks nice too, because a lot of times it's just a boring, black walls, or it might be
maybe a color.
Yeah. The border for this game was Kirby and then the animal friends, and they were fully colored So it was actually a super nice border for the Super Game Boy.
I actually prefer the black.
Yeah, some people
It's
do.
too distracting.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I get it. I can see both sides. It depends on the game for me. I think this one looks nice because it actually is color instead of just like, mush polygons of like one shade. Like the hamster would just be red or the fish would just be all blue. It looks nice when they're all like that. And they're stationary. So, yeah, it's definitely a preference thing though. But it's just a little extra they didn't have to do and it looks pretty nice.
I think they did a good job with the color use. They also, like, per world you were in, I think the forest world was green, the ice world was blue. Like, they actually matched instead of just putting, like, one color solid throughout, like they normally do on Super Game Boy. There was some thought put into this one, so.
Those borders don't make any sense to me because, like, not so much on maybe the Game Boy, but especially games that come out now. Like, I know the Mega Man collection came out and it has
Those borders
like an
piss me off.
overlay border. And I'm just like, we have the ability to
Right.
change the
either
aspect
change
on
the
it.
aspect
Like,
ratio
it's
or
not even
stretch
that
it.
much.
Yeah.
So whenever I see those, it just reminds me of like the really shitty streamer overlays.
I see
Maybe
it.
that's why I don't like them. But
It definitely depends on the game. The Mega Man ones you brought up, plus they're so busy. It's like, why?
it's just too much going on. Like
I
if it
would
was like
prefer something
I don't know, a
black, yeah.
black and gray to like offset it or
Right.
something more simple. But I got over it at some point. It was fine.
Yeah.
I got to look at the fish in the corner the whole time.
Fish.
Yeah,
MVP, you mean?
he was the standout, no doubt. But overall, I like the graphic style for this game. It looks like Kirby, it feels like Kirby. They didn't do anything. They didn't take any crazy risk here, but it's super solid for a Game Boy game, especially 1995 Game Boy game. So
Oh yeah, and there's some really nice effects and things of that nature in the game. The one that stands out for me, bring up the fish again so quickly, but I'm probably gonna go on about the fish. There was a couple rooms in the game where it's completely dark, and if you have the electric power, the fish basically has a light bulb in his mouth, and it's kind of a lightsaber. It's kind of unstoppable. It's awesome, but it actually like illuminates the room. That was a pretty cool effect for not even Game Boy Color. This is an original Game Boy release, so it'd be monotone green. It looked really really nice, and you also get some cutscenes between the levels. Seeing the animation, the cutscenes is pretty nice. There's multiple large sprites that are in motion that look really good. The graphics are pretty impressive for a Game Boy game. I mean, it's not like it's revolutionary or anything, but it's clean. Like you were saying, it's the way you want to present a game that holds up, right? If you did it in a certain style where, it's not necessarily going to, stand the test of time, but it's almost like animated cutscenes. And even the intro, as soon as you start the cart, you get that three-way cut with the animals. That's always awesome. I forgot about it until we threw it in, and I was like, man, that's hit me right back in my childhood because we used to see that all the time playing this game. But yeah, it's a cool little addition. Again, they didn't have to do it. They took some time with this one. You can tell.
really quick, one standout to this game, I think, is personally the controls. I think it's simplistic. You suck up your enemies, you get their powers. It's your classic Kirby. I feel like this one's pretty tight. We did have a slight delay with the B button trying to suck people up. It wasn't horribly intrusive, and it may have been because we were playing on a Retron. It's unconfirmed, but overall, I feel like controls were pretty slick on here. I didn't have any issues platforming. I didn't have any issues turning around, navigating, jumping. Everything felt pretty tight. Every once in a while, a boss would hit me because I didn't suck up in time and something would hit me. But overall, it was like super mechanically tight. Also thought the soundtrack was pretty damn good on this game. Hard to do on a Game Boy. Pretty banger of a soundtrack on here. So classic Hudson team that normally does their in-studio stuff. Hirokazu Ando and Tendanashi Igami are the in-house Hudson people. It's their first Kirby title they were actually able to work on for Dreamland, so they didn't do the first one, surprisingly. But sounds great. Music's great. Each animal kind of has their own theme too, which the only knock's a strong word, but one thing I kind of was disappointed. If you grab the animal power, you didn't get to hear the stage music in this game. So I feel like there's some songs we didn't even get to hear because we kept the animal the whole level.
That's true.
Right. I will say, though, the music itself, it's some of my favorite. And it might be the nostalgia, Nate, but I actually really enjoyed the music for this game. I think it's some of the best, in general, Game Boy music. It's hard to produce music that you'd listen to outside of a Game Boy in this game. But
I said it when you were playing. The owl sounds like it's straight out of Wild Heart or Wild Arms.
Yeah, the
I was
music's
like, what
great.
is this like? Game Boy Red Dead Redemption riding off into the sunset on a horse.
Yeah, the music's outstanding for a Game Boy game, like top tier for sure.
I think Kirby's got some thump with this win, too, in this version. A little more than some of the even later Kirby games, honestly. So, great sound design, tight controls, good graphics. So, let's go over value really quick. Loose cart of this game, surprisingly expensive for a Game Boy game. We're looking anywhere from $30 to $40. It's kind of a little all over the place. Complete box is where it gets really interesting here. Saw copies sell as low as $230. There was one kind of ridiculous one that sold very recently for $450. That seems extremely high. It was like pristine. It had all the posters and everything in it, but general average is around $225 to $240. I feel like is what I was going for.
For the player's choice one.
Yeah, for the player's choice one, it was, what did I say, $240? Yeah, so I have those backwards. That's why I was like, what the fuck? It was not expensive. Yeah, the non-player's choice copy is a little more expensive. It can go anywhere from $250 to $300. That one $450 was extremely high. I haven't seen any other ones. That was on bids though, which is kind of crazy. The last one I saw that wasn't a player's choice, it was $250. So
this one, if you do want complete, it does have posters, and I think the book and 2 additional inserts, ads or something. But there are more inserts than just the book. But it does have, both versions have a different poster, I believe.
I think you're right.
Player's choice has a different one.
Yeah.
Yep. So
but anything complete in box Game Boy, like especially with a main Nintendo character, you're gonna pay for it.
Loose cart for player's choice it's like a $5 difference. It's a $25, $30 cart either way. You're gonna pay for it. So
yeah.
And then always, as always, if you want to go extremely cheap, Japan's the way to go. $10 for a cart, $30 to $50 for a box with shipping. So you can give me a silly copy for around $50 from Japan. So one quick note for this one: there's a lot of fakes out there. I saw like you just Google Kirby Dream Land 2. Like there's a ton of like repro carts on Etsy. So be aware. There's actually a surprising amount of fakes. It's just surprising since it was sold over 1 million copies. Like it's a very successful, popular game.
Choice.
Yeah, I got a player's choice. So I mean,
It's all those people that just want it for the hamster.
Rick is a BA.
Better father than you, Rick.
Rick kind of sucked.
He's cute.
He's cute.
He's
Mechanically, he's not great though.
right.
We all know who the goat is, bro. Fish.
What was his name?
Oh shit.
Kyrie, Kame. The best part about the fish is like when you ride the animals, Kirby actually goes inside of the fishes.
Kine.
Kine. I don't know. But Kirby goes inside of the mouth, and it looks like the mouth is sucking on Kirby.
It's like a suit.
And then when you have the umbrella power, like Kirby gets sucked back into the fish, and an umbrella shoots out of the fish mouth, and he can swim great, but you have to like shittily hop across the ground. It's pretty funny.
The fish is so fun.
Fish
man.
is MVP though.
Yeah,
no doubt.
it was cool when we were playing it. I was like, I remember just grabbing the fish and grabbing the electric attack and just like walking around with the light bulb hanging out of your mouth and just like lightsabering everybody. And it's so fun even now.
We tried to take the fish to the final boss and wouldn't let us. we were that desperate.
Yeah, overall, really enjoyed this one though. But next one we played, Barry, you want to take over the next one?
This one was the request from SwooshBear on
Shout out.
on Discord. If you want to check him out, he's on YouTube at SwooshXBear. Does game reviews, deep dives, collection videos, reaction videos, just a bunch of gaming stuff. So check him out on YouTube. He was the one who requested specifically Nightmare in Dreamland, which I don't own. I actually had to dig it out of the closet of my partner because I was like, I swear there's this little tiny silver or clear box with a bunch of like loose Game Boy and DS games, and like if anybody knows me, I have too much OCD to let loose stuff float around. Like I don't really have a lot of loose stuff. But I remember I was moving stuff around, and I was like, I swear I saw a Kirby game in there, and we dug around for like 20 minutes trying to find it. And then I pull it out, and I was like, it's here, because you guys didn't have this game. I was like, I've got the game, I don't have to buy it. I just, pull anything out of that closet, and it just materializes.
Let's say, why are you lying? Just tell the truth. You're clearly practicing dark arts and making things appear in this closet.
It's not
This
me.
is not the first time this has happened.
No, just there was a copy of Pokemon Emerald in there too, and I was like, oh, there's a Pokemon Emerald in here, and they're like, oh, that's cool, and I'm like, you not know how much this is worth? And they're like, not really, not super into Pokemon. I said, okay.
It's Delta Species Charizard cards just chilling.
I
in
just
there,
put it back
whatever.
in and put it back in the closet. I said, that's your stuff.
Ridiculous.
It was Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, which is a Game Boy Advance release, and it is actually a remake of Kirby's Adventure, which is the first Kirby game on Nintendo. It was also the first Kirby game to have copy abilities. As a remake for Kirby's Adventure, it says the core gameplay and level design was mostly left unchanged. The graphics and sound effects were redone from scratch, which very, very clearly, the graphics in this look incredible. I think the colors are amazing too. It's just a really, really pretty looking game. It added more gameplay modes, added 3 new mini games, cooperative multiplayer that supports up to 4 people. It's got Meta Nightmare mode, which lets you control Meta Knight, which is pretty cool. I think this is the first game where you could play as Meta Knight.
It's pretty sick.
I think that's really about it for this one. But it's just kind of like... I mean, the story is a story. Honestly, the story is the exact same thing as what Nate just told you. Like, you gotta go fight some bosses and get some wands and then go fight Dee Dee and fight the darkness and Nightmare Man and wake everybody up from Dreamland. Like, the story is kind of a copy and paste.
It's Kirby.
The bosses are also the ones that we played in Dreamland too. Like, there are some bosses in this one are the same. Like, I think the sun and moon is just in everything. What was the tree is always yeah, there's just kind of like staple Kirby bosses that are gonna be in all of them. But it was pretty cool to see, like, when we were playing Dreamland 2, there was these fish underwater and I was like, what are those ninja fish? Because it looked like they were wearing headbands, but that's when Brian was like, oh, I think they're goggles. It didn't look like it to me.
They look like Naruto headbands.
They look like Naruto headbands. So then when we played Nightmare in Dreamland, like, you know, they redid all the sprites and everything. And I was like, oh, those are clearly fish with, like, scuba goggles on now. And,
which
like,
is also hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, like, the animation and the level design was by far the best thing. I think the artwork in this was incredible, too. Like, I'm not really a Kirby fan, and I was better at this game than the last one. And I think I just got used to the controls a little easier. But it was really cool to see, like, when you picked up an ability, it was just a lot of quality of life stuff that obviously they couldn't do with a Game Boy game at the time. But this is Game Boy Advance, which is mid-2000s, right? Somewhere around there. So you get, like, you pick up the abilities and it tells you, like, what the ability is, like Sword or Burning, where he, like, shoots fire. The ice.
The microphone.
The microphone one was awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, there were some really standout powers in this one.
And, like, every single one has their own, like, individual styled hat. And then his walking animation was really good. His floating animation was really good. All the boss animations are really good. The mini game that Nate, you played with the samurai was just, like, a beautiful back set, like, pixel art back set. So, like, this game to me stands out as, like, a very impressive pixel designed and artistic game.
Yeah, I think this isn't just a pretty Game Boy Advance game. It's like a pretty game overall.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Colorful. So
Animation
colorful.
was great.
Yeah, the colors were deep in some of them too. Like, it wasn't just like the same blue. I remember seeing on some of the levels, like, I can't remember which world we were in, but there was some bricks that were like 4 or 5 or 6 different color variations of like blue. And I was like, this is really cool. So gorgeous work on the graphics in this game. It was really impressive to just sit there and watch. And the sounds is your Kirby sounds.
They're all there, all the classics.
It was interesting to hear, like, almost remixes of classic Kirby music also. It was kind of cool. And plus, we were playing on the Retron again, so we didn't get that tinny Game Boy Advance speaker, which was actually nice. You could appreciate the music a little more.
It seemed like you guys had more of an issue with the controls in the beginning of this. Like,
Yeah, Brian kind of overcame it.
Initially.
I said it was a little floaty, but I actually was able to play this game a lot easier than the last one. Like, I had, like, the Dreamland 2, like, I just could not do... Anytime a boss fight came up, I passed it off because I felt like there was a weird, like, input lag, but there wasn't. And I just couldn't get the timing of, like, what the controller buttons were doing. And in this one, like, I could understand where some of the controls were, but it was floaty. It didn't feel, like, stagnant, if that makes sense.
The biggest thing for me, because I noticed at first, and it might have been just because, you know, there's a huge gap between a Game Boy and Game Boy Advance game, but the thing for me was, like, turning the other direction in this game felt off, and I don't know how to describe it until you actually do it. But there'd be times I'd try to, like, suck a star and then immediately face the other way from the boss, and you just want to turn. But eventually I got used to it. I don't know if it was just a different control, like...
I think it was either the Retron or the controller, because I don't even remember thinking about that when I played it on my SP.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a hell of a time trying to turn around. That's really my only gripe with this game at all, was I could not turn around a lot.
It wasn't, I don't feel like it was input lag, but there just wasn't button response sometimes. Like, there was sometimes I'd hit the B button and it wouldn't do what I wanted it to do at that moment.
We were playing with a Super Nintendo controller that's my wife's primary controller, so it doesn't get played a lot. So it's probably just needs broken in, honestly. That might have even been it. Like,
maybe, because there's even times in Dreamland 2 where it's like, man, I don't remember it being like, if you're falling down, you can suck the item and then shoot it back out, and I would miss that constantly. So it might have been, but something to note. I eventually got over it.
It didn't deter me
impact
from
the
wanting
game.
to enjoy
Yeah.
this game and really thoroughly liking this game.
Yeah, same.
We did play all the way through this one.
We did get to the boss in
did.
the last one, but we didn't get all the rainbow parts. Like, no.
No, we didn't do all that.
This one we did. Brian went ham on the boss.
Kind of hogged
Yeah.
it. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I was like, I'm beating this fucker. Like,
I played it for a while before, as in a while, not very much, but I played it before we had brought it over, so I kind of had like somewhat of an understanding of the game. And like for me, I don't play side scrollers like this at all because of the bosses. Like I just can't do the boss fights in these kinds of games. And then I think it was it Dreamland 2 where it made you go, like it had the scrolling screen.
Yeah.
That just gives me too much anxiety. I just can't do it with side scrollers. Like I need to sit there and take my time and like watch these enemies like swing shit around.
I will give you. I don't like being rushed in a platformer.
I don't like being
when the level's
rushed.
pushing you in a certain direction,
Uh-huh.
forcing you off screen, and it crushes you if you hit the wall. Like those are annoying.
which is cool because this one didn't. Even
Right.
when we fought the stupid eyeball boss again, it makes you climb up, but it's not like the screen's chasing you. Like you have to keep going up. So
And that's probably why I did like that one a
I
bit
kind of
better.
like the pace of this game
Yeah.
better. It didn't put the gas pedal down. It kind of let you go at your own pace. There's some levels you can even fly over the whole top. I feel like it was traditional difficulty in terms of Kirby, where
definitely
Dreamland had some
easier.
tough boss fights.
Yeah.
I think it was intended to be easier too, and it was very, very forgiving with lives and checkpoints and like where you ended up being if you died. So it wasn't very difficult to like. We would beat a final boss and like die on the boss, and we'd be like, okay, continue, and we still have the boss door, and it gives us back 2 lives. So
Yeah.
it's not like it punishes you and you have to restart the entire world.
Even the last part where it was like a mini boss rush, you had to fight like 10 bosses in one level. It didn't feel like cheap. Everything felt like earned, which, is a quality game.
Even when it randomly turned into a shmup, I was able to do it, and I suck at shmups. So
Yeah. As far as the price on this goes, the cart price is, I want to say, between 25 and 30, maybe a little bit more if the label's super clean. Supposedly complete in box is probably about 100, 125. So not quite as expensive as Dreamland 2, but surprisingly cheap for Nightmare and Dreamland, considering how much people like this game. Game Boy Advance games are usually worth more if they're more popular too. So this being like one of the, I want to say, beloved Kirby games, and it's still being cheap comparatively, completed box is surprising to me.
same.
It's very surprising. Just a way
yeah.
to play it.
Yeah, so that was a little of a surprise when I was looking into it, but
I figured it'd be comparable to Dreamland 2. It's surprising to see. It's for as far as Game Boy
Yeah.
Advance games, like especially Nintendo Game Boy Advance games, it's fairly affordable.
right, especially considering I think this was available on the Wii U store, I think.
Wii and Wii U one, yeah, that got shut down.
And that got shut down, so there's not really a feasible way to play this one unless they put it on the Switch Online service again. Legally. But
matey.
Go see the fish when you're sailing the seas.
right. But that was Kirby's Dream. That was Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance. Now Brian had something a little different.
Yeah, you know me. I gotta be different. Pick something completely off the wall. You guys picked very traditional Kirby games. I actually picked the first spin-off Kirby game, Kirby's Dream Course, released for the Super Nintendo, developed by HAL Laboratory and published by Nintendo. It was released September 21st, 1994 in Japan, February 1st, 95 in the US, August 24th, 95 in Europe. Interesting note about the Japan release for this game, it's actually called Kirby Ball. So if you're going out and finding a Japanese copy, don't look for Dream Course. It's called Kirby Ball.
I feel like there's a far more fitting title for this game.
Yeah, just to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this game, it's kind of like the premise is if golf was actually fun and you can play with friends.
Golf is fun.
Yeah,
It's not like golf though.
yeah, it's kind of like a weird
It's
pool,
weird.
It's pool.
golf hybrid.
It's pool.
Everyone says golf because it's got the scorecard and it counts your strokes.
It's pool with a golf course.
But the physics are very much like pool. You have borders, you can bounce, you can jump. I mean, Barry's like a pro at this game apparently, so like, yeah, it's very much like billiards. Like, but yeah, it's a blast of a game. It's actually the fourth Kirby game. It's the first one for the Super Nintendo. And just to kind of get out there, Kirby's got a lot of spin-off games. I think Mario's the only one that really rivals Kirby. But
Does it?
there's so much Mario. Like, even if he makes an appearance, if you count those, it's ridiculous. Like,
I mean, for Kirby.
Yeah, Kirby's got a surprising amount.
Even on the Super Nintendo, he's got like 2 or 3. But
yeah, Avalanche. You got the Air Ride Racing for GameCube. Like, there's a decent amount of Kirby games.
Yeah, I think Mario's the only one that rivals Kirby. He's got a lot of spin-offs. Oh, the reason why I picked this game, I've got a soft spot for it. Like, right when I got back into retro collecting, my buddy Nick, who's not a gamer, he has his childhood copy. That's the one we played today. He gave it to me. We drank too much and stayed up all night playing this game. The 2-player mode is just an absolute blast. And I wanted my friends here to experience that also. Let's go into the story. The manual is the only thing that contains a story, and there actually is a story for this, but spoiler alert, it's pretty much the same as every Kirby game.
You gotta get to the holes.
Yeah.
What's
to save the world.
What they do to Kirby to make him paralyzed until he gets hit by something?
Yeah, that one they don't really explain. All it says in the book is that King Dedede stole all the stars in the sky, and Kirby's got to get them back. Well, shocking, right?
But he's a ball now.
Yes.
Also, I just want to interject. For some odd reason, you don't type your name in; you draw your name.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I tried to get Nate to draw our name as a dick, and it was poor.
D-pad.
It was poor.
I would use Genesis controller. It would have been fucking Da Vinci.
It was
Super Nintendo
it was
controller.
the most interesting depiction of a dick that I've
Makes
seen.
me wonder, does this game support a mouse?
That's the beautiful thing about art, though. It's subjective, and it just shows a different reality than you could see of the bottom angle.
All right, we're gonna move on from that. But just as a
It does make me wonder if it supports the mouse, because I bet this would be like, having the touch with the mouse would be nice and
what was the Mario Paint?
Yeah.
This was the beginnings of Kirby Paint, and then they
Maybe.
said, "Never mind, we're gonna make this billiards."
Well, it is funny because when they started this game out, it was not even a Kirby game.
Do you know what it was supposed to be?
I've got it in my notes, but I don't know why they're not in order. Yeah, it was originally developed as Special T-Shot, and then due to Kirby's success, they obviously plastered Kirby all over it. Fun fact, though, Special T-Shot actually did release in Japan on this, how do you pronounce this thing? Satellaview?
The internet service.
Yeah, the internet service to Japan where you download games, yeah. So, interesting. It ended up releasing without the Kirby.
So it's never a physical.
Correct.
The first cloud, bruh.
Right.
I don't know, what is that? What is that thing? Is it an actual game console?
No, it's like a plug-in.
It's like a modem.
And it's like a modem. It's a good way of putting it in.
First cloud, bruh.
One more thing about the story, then we'll move on. The Japanese version actually has a cutscene at the start of the game. The US version doesn't. I don't know why we got screwed on that, but it actually tells the story if you want to know why Kirby just gets beat around.
I would really like to know why,
Yeah.
like, some unknown force sets up this course. Like, get him.
Yeah.
You're trapped in a ball form, like, at my mercy. Like, I'd love to know that.
As far as the graphics go, you get a pretty unique isometric view. You don't see it a lot on the Super Nintendo. It's kind of got some pseudo 3D effects. I always like that. I think it's fun. Super Nintendo's not really a 3D console, so anytime you see them trying to emulate that, it's always enjoyable. It's an impressive NES title. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's like the best one I've ever seen, but it's got enough uniqueness to it where even like the slants in the course and there's shadows, and when you have the moon enemy, you can toggle those shadows and not see them. There's enough variety into the course where there's animated sprites or hazards. The water looks decent for a Super Nintendo. They put some effort into it.
The water?
Yeah,
The water looked like boo-boo.
yeah, it looked like water.
It
I will
was
say
a solid single color polygon.
it's unique is the best way I would describe this game. I'm gonna say it's good or bad. I think it's a little less timeless to it being pseudo 3D for
Yeah,
a Kirby
for sure.
game, but I think it looks unique enough when you sit down and go, oh, what am I looking at? And it doesn't look horrible. It looks dated a little bit, sure, but it looks better than like Sonic 3D Blast.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good analogy too, because that's isometric also. It definitely looks better in Sonic 3D Blast. But it does run smooth. There's no really slowdown or anything. There could be a lot of things going on, and the game stays pretty consistently smooth. It's a unique looking game. If you had this running and you knew what it was, you'd instantly recognize it as Kirby's Dream Course. Moving on to the gameplay. The single player, this game is really difficult. There's no sugarcoating it. Like, the cup is just an absolute motherfucker. You could literally have a perfect lined up shot, and it's going to just knock the cup out, and it's not going to sink into a hole. Barry found a pretty sick method of just, chipping it in there and sinking it. Pretty dope. You're pretty great at that.
I don't know who the goat of pool is, but Barry was like Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods combined over here.
All right, look.
The whole time we were playing, I was like, I wish we recorded this because you had some sick shots, bro.
I don't play side-scroller platformers for a reason because I'm not good at them. But if I was good at anything, it's gonna be billiards. I remember. I think the first one. I don't remember what level it was. Was it the first level that we played?
Yes.
Yeah,
The first level, we cleared the hole, and I said, watch this. I'm going to 3-point it right into the hole. And then it bounced a little bit, but it sunk in the hole. The second one, I think, went straight in the hole.
Swish.
The second one went straight in the hole, and at that point, I was like, get me a PBR, boys, because it only gets better from here. And then I think I switched the last one too. Is that right?
Yeah, very last level, yeah.
Yeah, the very last one.
Yeah, we were. That was difficult.
We're ending it.
Me and Nate were sweating it for a second, but
it's definitely
got stuck into a pit, and I was like, "It's the only way out, man. We got to jump shot it right in there."
And there were so many enemies, like y'all killed it. But I will say, the single player, it's a very difficult game. It's a fun game. It's one of those where you have to keep repeating something until you get it just right. And once you do overcome those mountains, it's a blast. It's very rewarding. But 2 players playing in tandem, like this is one of my favorite games to play with somebody on Super Nintendo, quite frankly. Like we were cracking up the whole time. We were smiling. We were laughing. Having that co-op element, it's competitive too because it still counts your strokes, but you're also working together to clear the board. Because summary of how this game works, let's say there's 3 enemies on the screen. You can shoot at either enemy however you want. The last one on the board becomes the cup. And that's pretty much it. And then it rips you off continuously unless you shoot it in. But yeah, 2 players for this game. I can't stress enough how insanely fun the multiplayer is for this game.
Yeah, I was not expecting this good of a time with it because I played it single player first when we were playing, and I was like, this is rough.
Yeah, this is not a game I would suggest playing single player.
Not a bad game, but
I think we got almost to the end of me and you playing, and I literally was like, I could probably sit here and play this with you guys all night.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
It was so much fun.
It's definitely the strong point because even like my buddy Nick, when he gave it to me, he was like, "Oh, get used to the controls or whatever," because it is a learning curve.
There's a steep learning curve.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I was struggling, and I was like, "Bro, this is not going to be fun." And then we played 2-player, and I was like, "This changes everything." I had a very similar reaction to Barry, where it was like, "Dude, we can keep going on this. This is a blast." I can't stress enough how fun it is on 2-player. Like, it is seriously. I've already said it once. I'm gonna say it again. One of my favorite co-op games. Like on Super Nintendo.
Apparently there are abilities that you can do in the game, and I couldn't figure out how to use mine.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Because I had some kind of like jump or a tornado. Yeah, and I couldn't figure out how to use it.
There are abilities you can use. It's your basic Kirby suck powers. I don't know how to use them. We don't have a book. I literally just have my buddy's childhood copy, so with the torn label and everything.
Didn't need it. Straight to the hole.
We were just banking shots and bouncing off the border. It's a blast, man. And the physics are actually pretty solid in this game too for a Super Nintendo game.
Physics were impressive, I will say. It's especially not something you have to really worry about programming too much for a Super Nintendo game. And like I said, it looks unique, and there's like unique stuff going on as far as momentum controls and stuff. And once you get the feeling of it, it does feel tight. Like it feels like I was doing what I was trying to get to do. Only one that was a little iffy was the power meter sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I'd blast the shit out of the ball and it'd barely go anywhere, and sometimes I'd blast it and I'd fly off the map. But I think that's just part of the learning curve more than anything.
The one that impressed me, Barry had a shot where she shot it off of the slope of the bank, like towards the top, and it took a
from the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to bank it off of a slope so it would hop over the corner.
And it did.
Yeah.
Like, it was very impressive with the physics in that regard.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it wasn't going to do what I wanted it to do, but it ended up working. So that was an impressive example of the game's physics.
I think this is no doubt like an extremely rewarding experience once you do. Even I can see single player like being kind of challenging at first, but once you figure it out, it could be like extremely rewarding experience.
Yeah. And just to cover the sound, lastly, it's got okay music. I don't think it's weird for a Kirby game. It's not one of the better soundtracks for the system. It's serviceable, if anything. Fairly forgettable. I mean, we were laughing and smiling and cheering more than we were actually listening to the music. I will say it does have the classic level clear, like Kirby dance when you clear all the holes in the course. So that's fun, seeing the 3 Kirbys do their thing and the classic Kirby jingle. But it's probably the most forgettable portion of this game is the sound. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's not necessarily, anything memorable either. And then to the nitty-gritty, the collectability and price of this game. So you're going to pay about $30 for a cart. Depending on your region, of course, it's cheaper in Japan. And honestly, if you're just playing it, it's a pretty viable option. There's no text. You're going to be, you're going to have that cutscene in the beginning. But unless you can read Japanese. But again, you're not playing this game for the story.
I guess other than like knowing
The
the
menus.
names of the
Yeah.
maps or the menus, but
And
there
the
wasn't
day.
a lot of menu options, so I'm sure at some point you could figure out
Yeah.
if you didn't.
It's definitely, I mean, it's like a, $10, $12 cart, so significantly cheaper, almost half off. Complete in box, it's about under $100. I've seen some go as low as 90 on this game, so it's not an expensive game per se to get a complete in box copy. And we've talked about it in this podcast a million times. Cardboard, paper boxes, that's fairly reasonable, under $100 for it's a significant title too. It's technically the first Kirby spinoff. It's the first Super Nintendo game Kirby. Kind of interesting there. And then a sealed copy, I saw one sell for $275, which is very reasonable for a sealed Super Nintendo game. It is available on the Super Nintendo Classic, the mini console.
What did the Kirby 20th anniversary game have?
What had Dreamland 2 on it?
Had Dreamland 2? Because I thought it had one of the ones we were talking about, but I couldn't remember if it was Dream Course or not.
I don't think so. I know the only way to play
That's
it.
actually a good point. Let's look that up.
Yeah.
Because some of these might be on there.
It's true.
Kirby's Dreamland, Kirby's Adventure, Dreamland 2, Superstar, Dreamland 3, 64.
Interesting. So just mainline games.
Dreamland 3 is a big one to have on that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, never mind. You can play Dreamland 2 on it.
Yeah.
kinda
Or
clutch.
Kirby's Adventure, which is sort of Nightmare in
They
Dreamland.
should do one of these for the spin-off games. That'd be fun. Like a
This game with
collection.
online Switch would be incredible.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it would
Oh
be
my
really
God.
cool on the online service.
Sign me up. Get a Kirby Dream Course League going. Mm-hmm. Beer League. Let's go.
I'm on Barry's team.
Yep.
Just give me some pissy
PBR,
beer.
I got you,
yeah,
fam.
PBR, dude. That's my pool playing drink.
Guys, our Patreon's no longer open. We're going to hustle for these Dream Colors.
Well, those are our 3 games. Now, as far as all 3 go, which one, if you guys were to buy one of them, because they are all about $30 for the cart.
Which is super, not planned.
Yeah,
This just kind of happened.
Yeah, it was weird,
kind of
but
special.
all of them are about $30 for the cart, $220 at the high, and then about $120 for the other 2. So, like, which one, if you had to buy one, if money was no object, and you had to buy one, and you were like, this is the one worth it the most, which one?
I'm going to use my practical brain and say Nightmare because there's no other way to play it.
There's no other way to play Dream Course.
It's on the Super Nintendo Mini, and then this is on the Kirby Dreamland 2 is on the collection. So I think it's practical speaking. I think the Game Boy Advance Nightmare and Dreamland is probably the way I would go, just on cart only. For answering that question, because I have a different answer for complete in box, honestly.
It's true. There's a lot of variables in it, surprisingly. All the
Yeah.
cards matching up. Because I just want to play it.
If you had $30 and you had these 3 in
These
front of
three-
you,
yeah, pick one. I guess I'm going the Game Boy Advance one.
Interesting. See, I'm probably going to go towards Dreamland 2 just because of nostalgia. Like, Nate has our childhood copy, and I don't. And I want that game. I had a blast with all of them. I love all of them for different reasons. But the nostalgia, which Nate hates, would get to me. And I'd go with Dreamland 2 just because I think it's the most viable to play by yourself. I love Dream Course also, but it's not. If it's just you by yourself, don't play Dream Course. Like, if you have a group and it's like, hey, let's go get a game and we're playing a game for $30 tonight, that answers Dream Course. Like, hands down, no questions asked. But if it's just me buying it, I'm going to go Dreamland 2, just for the nostalgia. Like, Nate and I played it. I can't stress enough the ever-loving shit out of this game as a kid. And I still love it.
Can't believe my saves were still on there.
That's pretty
like,
cool.
Our combined one, which is the one I deleted to make room for us. Then like your individual, my individual, were still on there.
That's weird that mine didn't come up on
It is
Nightmare.
Yeah.
It is weird.
Odd. Maybe you have to load the saves.
No, so I stuck
So
it in. It loads
weird.
the ROM and then it loads the saves.
So weird.
Because mine did it straight up.
Because I know it doesn't overwrite the saves on the cart unless you tell it to.
Right.
But
Might be the way it just emulates Game Boy Advance
Interesting.
or something. But yeah. Dreamland 2 is my answer.
you said Nightmare.
I did say Nightmare.
I would actually say Dream Course.
Nice.
funny.
Look at this.
So as a single player experience, I think Nightmare and Dreamland is the choice. That one just has the most. If I want to have fun by myself, that's probably the game of 3 I'm picking. But I have to think of it as which game am I going to play multiple times? And I'm not going to. I just don't like the Kirby format. I think the Kirby games are really good, but these aren't games that I can go back to, like, from my personal, like, tastes. So if I had to pick one, it's going to be Dream Course because it's a game I can pull out as like, oh, hey, my friends are over, let's play a crappy billiards stand-in. And I'm going to play that one more often than I would probably sit open, like play Nightmare on Dreamland or Dreamland 2 by myself. I have so many other games I'd rather play. Just Kirby's just not my jam. So if I had $30 and it was like, you're going to buy one of these, I said, I'm going to get the most bang for my buck out of this one because I can play it multiple times and have fun with a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true. There's different merits to all three games, I feel like. From a collector standpoint, Nate, I think your argument's 100% sound. Mm-hmm. And then Barry, 100% agree. If we're playing it and it's like, hey, we got to play a game tonight and these three are available, I'm picking Dreamland or Dream Course every time.
Right.
Because it's a blast. Like, we could play this right after we're done recording this and we'd all still be cracking up having fun.
Right. It's like if your friend came over and it was like, hey, man, do you want to watch me play a single-player game? I'd been like, nah, fam. Do you have any multiplayer games? Oh, yeah, and Nightmare in Dreamland is multiplayer. Like, it can support up to 4 people, but the problem is you need 2 Game Boy Advances and a link cable to have fun with it. Like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that on the Retron.
Damn.
Like, you have to go through a multiplayer through, like, consoles.
We could have done that. Fuck.
So
Samurai game would have been so fucking
the
awesome.
Samurai game would have been hilarious. So, like, for the practicality's sake, like, multiplayer on Nightmare in Dreamland isn't really feasible in this day and age. I don't know how it works on emulators, if it's any different.
If it even does,
If it even does. But, like, having multiplayer on the other game and still being able to do it on a console, like, you don't need any extra hardware.
Yeah.
You just need the game and another controller.
Full disclosure, like, the main reason why I picked Dream Course because I'm like, I knew you guys would have a blast with it. Like, I wanted you guys to experience the same experience that my buddy Nick gave to me playing this game. Like,
I told you before we did this, I thought this was a racing game.
yeah.
I had no idea what this game was. I had no clue. It was just like Kirby's Dream Course, and I'm like, the course like a racing course?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really, really enjoyed all 3 of these games. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a Kirby fan, but every Kirby game I played, I'm like, God, I really like this. And like I said, Dreamland 2, it's a huge game from my childhood. That one's like, when I think of Game Boy games I put the most time in, it's probably the one I've played the most, honestly. It's just because I had it so much as a kid.
Why? I don't understand why that game's so expensive.
I don't either. It's a thing. So there's a player's choice.
It's a beloved Kirby game, though.
Sure.
It's one of the animal buddies.
It's
like,
probably in my top 3 Kirby games I've ever played, but
I mean, is it just the Hamtaro though?
It's
I mean,
available.
he's not Hamtaro,
It's a fish with
but
a light bulb in its mouth, bro.
I mean, they do have animals in it, which okay.
great mechanic that, like, surprised didn't make a little more appearances throughout the series.
It's not rare by any means because
it's
they had players'
sold over
choice
1 million
editions.
copies. Like, it's very common.
I think it's like the Contra argument. It's a desired game on Game Boy. I think it's one of the standout games on the console.
It's certainly a better game than the first one.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
better than the third one, honestly. I don't think there's a whole lot of people, like other people who are trying to inflate the insane value of that third one.
I mean,
It's a better game.
I guess, is there not any other games that have little animal companions in them in Kirby? Is that it?
It's the light bulb, bro.
Don't flame me because there might be. I don't know the Kirby games like that
I
well,
don't know.
but I don't think it's quite as intricate as I'm sure there's like a level or 2 you could ride them or something. But
Look, I love animals, but they're overrated in this game except the fish. A lot of times we just ditched them.
I like the owl.
Not even gonna lie.
Koo was cool, man.
Okay, yeah, we just said fuck that hamster.
Rick
Did suck.
he was cute.
Fuck Rick, bro. Say it.
His little walking animation and his feet are so cute, and his little whisker, like they put in like a couple pixels for a whisker.
Yeah.
Like I really liked that, but like he sucked.
I wrote like
got to
There was
kill
a
a
couple
lot. It's like-
times where we killed him and went back for a different one, hoping they'd give us a different animal.
Yeah.
A lot of his abilities, you have to be like facing away from your enemies to use, or he'll toss you and there's no like for the boomerang, he'll throw Kirby and the arc's so weird where the fish is like, let me just turn into a lightsaber and kill everything. Come
Oh
on.
yeah, and like the porcupine one,
Yeah,
like
you
you
gotta
had
face
to turn
away.
away and shoot the
Yeah.
spines out of his back, and it
I'll
just
say it,
wasn't
bro.
intuitive.
Me and Rick got beef, whatever.
I'm not gonna sit there and say beef. I think he's adorable and
He's
like
cute.
I don't like Kirby enough to get a tattoo, but like a sticker of like him riding Rick would be pretty sweet. Like
Yeah.
No, Kirby in the fish mouth.
that's a tattoo, bro. Come on.
100%.
Yeah.
We're gonna get matching ones.
Yeah.
Rick, the owl, and the fish.
No, I love Dreamland. It's like probably my favorite of these games to play, but I had a blast. And in complete in box for under $100, honestly, it's like super tempting for me
Yeah.
because that's a game I feel like we could just pull off the shelf. Like, I have people over like, hey guys, check this one out. That's one that like I will go back. I think you kind of said it best. Like, as an adult, I won't have so many games to play now. Thank God I don't only have to pick between Wave Race and Kirby. Like, I can actually pick other games now. So I probably like won't go back to Kirby's Dreamland 2 as much as I love it, except for like if I fucking need a nostalgia push. But like Nightmare is really fun. I don't know if I'm gonna sit there and like ever play it again, except maybe once in a while. Dream
It
Course.
was a very pretty Game Boy
No,
Advance
no
game.
doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt.
yeah.
And this isn't like a knock on them. They're single player. They're short.
Right.
This Dream Course has so much replayability. Completing box for $100 seems like a steal for a Kirby game. And as fun as it is, like I just want to own this game. I don't care if it's worth $1. Like I want to own that game.
I will say, Nightmare in Dreamland to me is a really good take on a trip kind of game.
No doubt.
Because it is short, it is very forgiving in terms of deaths and checkpoints, so you don't necessarily like die and go back to the start of any worlds or anything. So if you're going on a short trip and you can't dedicate like hours and hours and hours and hours to it, like some other games do, like that's a great, I got a 2-hour car ride to the next city over, I'm gonna play a quick game, I'll grab Kirby off the shelf.
Yeah.
Also to the point of like you can't legally play it in any other format other than this right now. I am surprised it's not a little more.
Agree.
Which is shocking.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
In terms of like collectability, I would pick this one.
I feel like it's the most like both those your guys' games are like very reasonable for completing box. I feel like
Yeah.
for yours under $100, like no brainer. The Nightmare is like for all of it's got going for it. Seems like a great deal. Like I don't understand why it's so cheap, honestly. Especially when you're looking at other stuff like Minish Cap, which is available virtually, and it's like over $200. Like.
Well, and even go back to the gameplay for Nightmare in Dreamland. There's a little more variety to it also because you do get some of the mini games. You get the boss fights, like the different modes. There's different paths. You do get a little more meat in the bone as far as gameplay is concerned compared to Dreamland 2 also.
And it's funny. We're all sitting here saying, why is Dreamland 2 so expensive? And like, I love the game, but I agree. There's no reason it should be that much complete in box. Like, I know it's probably more rare because it's, Game Boy games.
But still, man, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah.
There's way more, I feel like, if we're talking about just common Game Boy games, that more bang for your buck. I mean, Pokemon Yellow is comparable, for God's sakes, and that's a game that's going to like hold value longer than Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nightmare
Nightmare
in Dreamland's weird. The last one sold complete for $110, $116.
All day for $110.
Here's
all
one
day.
from Canada for $67 plus $15. Under $100.
Boy, gimme.
That was complete. Like, and even the little thing's got a plastic slip over it.
We're rocking $450 in Dreamland 2. That's insane.
Yeah, and the carts are cheap, man. They're like 20 to $30. So I don't know why this game is so cheap. It's just weird.
So I think we can pretty much unanimously agree. Like Nightmare and Dreamland's definitely worth it.
Yeah. I will second
Right?
that for sure.
It's got so much going for it.
I also have honestly, this game could have the potential of going up. I mean, like the new Kirby game was interesting, but I feel like this one might benefit if it came to the online service or more people could play it and see it, and then they want to go back and actually buy a physical copy. This one could benefit from that service of going up instead of going down like some other ones. So it's something to think about. I don't know if it has like long-term value. Kirby's I don't
Kirby's
know.
weird because he's a B
Kirby's
character.
weird.
He's a B character, for being honest, right? He's not one of the.
Gets a lot of releases though.
I mean, people really only like Kirby's popular in Smash, but like Kirby is like a game series isn't as popular as some other Nintendo properties.
It's the meme of him sucking shit up. Like,
It's weird 'cause I feel like on the Switch, Kirby's kind of had a resurgence. Like there's 3 or 4 Kirby games like physical
no
releases.
doubt it's successful,
And
but
then
I just
there's
feel like it
many
doesn't have the
spin-offs
mainstream power of like, obviously.
I hear you, but it's kind of switched also because it's kind of turned more into a multiplayer game.
Yeah, that's why it's hard for me to say like what the longevity is of this one. I mean, Dreamland 2 and Dreamland 3 are like the heavy hitters of the Kirby series. And so I'm just wondering like what obviously Dreamland 2 is not really going to go down, I don't think. I think it's kind of a staple as like an old Kirby game with the animals, but like Nightmare and Dreamland for being a remake of Kirby's Adventure and being a really good remake of Kirby's Adventure. I don't know the longevity of it, but I have a feeling that it could, I don't know what would trigger it, but it could go up.
That's how you make a game to me. Like, I like it way better than the original one.
Same.
Like, at me. And there's people that are like defend the original one over. I'm like, there's no way after playing it. Like, sorry. Like, I don't know. If that game was $150, I'd still feel pretty comfortable with it for completing box. Like, all day.
There was some on there for $150.
It still seems very reasonable to me.
And also,
honestly,
just to throw it out there, Kirby's Adventure complete in box is hovering around $95 right now.
Which one?
Kirby's Adventure, the original version.
Oh, for Nintendo?
Yeah, which is interesting.
So it's slightly more.
Slightly
More, but you also remember handheld boxes in a cardboard
Right.
state are non-existent.
Right.
So
Less than a NES.
Something to think about. I think it's a superior version, quite frankly, to the NES version. It's more fun. I think it holds up. It's definitely prettier.
I mean, if someone put both of those games in front of me and was like, these are the exact same game, which one do you want to play?
Yeah.
Why would I play Kirby's Adventure?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not like a Kirby appreciator where it's like, man, I gotta know where we came from. No, I want the one with the hats.
Yeah, I think Kirby's Adventure is a fun game, but there's a better way to play it for like maybe $10 more complete. That's the one I'm going with. You know?
I think Kirby's Adventure was the most important for the series by far. But I mean, like Kirby's Adventure made Kirby what it is today. Like Kirby wouldn't be Kirby without copy abilities, and like that's what they did in this game. And I think I read that he did that specifically for replayability, so people could go back to keep playing the game over and over to try new abilities and see like what they would do in other situations. I think that is a very important game for the series, but I don't think it's aged.
Sure.
It's aged. There's no reason to play that game.
Like it looks like an 8-bit platformer.
Yeah.
Like Nightmare looks beautiful even now. Like if that game came out digitally on PS5, Xbox, so you'd be like, damn, it's a pretty game.
Yeah.
Honestly,
that's like a game I can appreciate from a distance and have no desire to play it.
If we were playing it on a stretched out screen. Like imagine it like how it's actually supposed to look.
Yeah.
It'd be beautiful. So I think that one's obviously like 100% worth it. Mm-hmm. Honestly, as fun as I have Dream Course, if that was $200, I'd probably still want it. Like, it's so fun. Like, that's one I'd like to have just to be able to pull off the shelf. The cart, $30 all day. Yeah. I feel like that's no brainer.
And the fact if you can get a SNES, how much does a SNES Mini go for? Like $100 now?
They fluctuate.
Are you going to find one that's not already modded?
That's true. But yeah, there's ways to play Kirby's Dream Course.
That's true, but when you're sitting at under $100, it's fine. Yeah. Like
I think
whatever.
It's a super safe buy for under $100 for the first Kirby spin-off game, and just play the game. Like I can't stress enough. If I had to tell anybody to play one of these games, obviously it's not a traditional Kirby experience, but as far as the spin-offs, it's hands down the best one. It's the most fun.
You get brand new ones for $130
with a friend.
Yeah,
with a
players,
friend,
for sure. Yeah,
you're gonna have a boring. If you gave me this game and was like, hey, we gotta play this for the podcast, and we each individually had to go play this game at home by ourselves, I would have had a miserable time.
There's a reason why I tried to be like, hey, let's play like this. Like, Nate, play the single player. All right, now both of y'all play. Like, I knew what I was doing because I had the very same experience when it was first introduced to me, and it was like
night and day.
It was interesting because we were watching you play it by yourself, and I was looking at it, and I'm like,
this doesn't look fun.
I was like, what is this? What is this game? And then we figured out the multiplayer because you said it was a lot more fun multiplayer, and like that's when it really kicked in.
Yeah.
So
I can't stress enough how fun this game is with a buddy. Like we were literally like, ooh, like shake each other and shit. Like it's a blast.
Yeah, I think overall, like my closing thoughts: Nightmare worth it, Dream Course worth it, Dreamland 2. It's a lot of money. Yeah. I could see an argument for yes and no, but overall I'm gonna say cart. Yeah, complete in box. Fuck no. Like that's so much damn money.
I would agree.
And if it was like the first Kirby game, okay. If it was like the first one to like have the suck up powers, okay. It's not. Like, there's no reason that game should be cost that much. Like, I'm gonna say no for Dreamland 2 as much as that breaks my heart because I love the game. It's the one I own, but like, yeah, I can't justify spending that much for a damn box.
Yeah.
And I like to have my stuff complete in box, but damn, like that's so expensive.
Yeah.
That makes it from like, oh, that's a moderately priced Game Boy cart to holy shit, what? Like,
I'll say this: I think all these games are worth playing in their own regard. They're all blast. They're all good games. For collectability wise, Dreamland 2 it's a lot of money, man. I think both Nightmare and Dreamland and Dream Course are super viable options. And even the Japanese Kirby Ball, I think that's a super viable option too. You get the cool Super Famicom box that stands up like a VHS, and the box art's really nice on it. I think there's no wrong way to slice Kirby's Dream Course. Even if you just gotta play it, pay to play it with a friend, like do that. It's a blast to play.
Dreamland be on some bullshit. 3's like $700 in a box.
It's a lot, yeah.
2's like
insane, bro.
300,
get the anniversary
400. That's
edition.
some bullshit.
Just get the anniversary
There's more ways to play it also. It is interesting that Dreamland costs so much because you can buy the expensive Kirby collection, and cool, you get 3 also.
But I'll wrap it up. I agree. I think all of these games are worth cart prices, 100%. Collectability, I think Nightmare and Dreamland has the most going for it.
Yeah.
I would want... If I'm gonna buy if I'm gonna buy Dream Course, I'm gonna want a box.
Yeah.
Dreamland 2, no.
Can't justify
Sorry,
it.
no, I can't. Yeah, I can't justify that. But thank you so much for the suggestion. These were very fun to play.
100%.
So if anybody else has games that they want to see or suggestions on what they want to hear about, please let us know and we'll do them. So this is our gift to you. Community requested game. Thank you, SwooshBear.
Appreciate it. This was a blast.
Golf claps.
Snaps.
Was it
Dream
snaps?
Course claps.
Is it golf claps, right?
Yeah, golf claps.
Dream course clap.
Yeah.
And that.
You can do a
It's
pool.
just-
Hell yeah!
It's just got slapping noises in an ear because this is a podcast format. That's great.
Yeah.
Next week, today is Christmas. New Year's Day, we're going to be releasing our 2023 year in review, wrap up. We're going to talk about everything that happened on the podcast this year, what we're looking forward to on the podcast this year, and then everything that happened in 2023, what surprised us, what disappointed us in game releases, and maybe a little bit of what we're looking forward to in 2024, but mostly about a lot of stuff that happened this past year. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit us up on Discord. Please give us some games to play, because I would have never played a Kirby game, I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like it's a really fun format and injected some like new life into it.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to have to like pace yourself like quickly but concise. So like, no, I had a blast. Thank you so much for suggesting this. Like, Brian, thank you for bringing your game. Barry, thank you for letting me play Nightmare in Dreamland finally. So
I'll think of the mystical closet that I somehow pulled this game out of.
pull that box out.
So you can get
Yeah, I don't know
outrun
about
coast
that.
to coast, please.
And I'll just pull a steel battalion
Steel
out of there.
Battalion,
Yeah.
a couple of them.
There is a closet I can pull a steel battalion out of.
Yeah.
2 of them.
And we're here right now.
I am in this building. I feel a little heisty tonight.
You can get out of here with Ella without breaking out your hands. It's yours.
Thank you again, and from one depressed gamer to the next.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry whatever holiday you celebrate.
If y'all got stuff for Christmas, hit us in the I want to see pictures.
Yeah, let's get your Santa presents.
Yeah, let me see the Santa presents.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything, so let me live vicariously through you.
I was literally about the same thing. I was like, I'm not buying anything for Christmas, and I'm not asking for anything for Christmas. So if you get shit, I just want to see it, so I can be like, yes, thank you, excellent.
We're all in the same hole, huh?
Yeah, we're all poor.
Video game collecting dust, yeah.
Happy holidays.